Starting a new job as an executive can feel super overwhelming, like you have something to prove and like the whole team is watching your every move. It's easy to feel like you're an imposter in those first few weeks, especially if like the whole team is watching your every move. But here's the good news. You don't need to prove yourself right away. In this video, I'm gonna share with you my 5 unspoken rules that will help you set the tone confidently to succeed in your new role. Let's get right into rule number 1. Start with a quick win. When you're in a new role, it can feel like there's a spotlight right on you, and the pressure to prove yourself can be really overwhelming. Everyone, from your team to your leadership, they're watching to see what kind of leader you're gonna be. What I found that really eases the nerves and helps set the right tone is focusing on getting a quick win early on. And a quick win shows your team that you're capable and ready to deliver results. It's a way to build trust and to demonstrate your value without making any drastic changes. Now, a quick win doesn't have to be monumental. It could be something simple but impactful, like improving a process, or offering an insight that leads to a solution, or successfully completing a small project. So for example, if the team has been struggling with a slow approval process, you would take the time to review it, to streamline it, and to save everyone time and frustration. And by fixing something that's been a pain point, you'll immediately show that you're here to make their lives easier. Or here's an even simpler example, and something I often share with my clients. Look at the meeting schedule. So let's say that you ask around and you hear that the team feels really bogged down by too many unnecessary meetings. You could take a closer look at the schedule, identify redundancies, and cut out the ones that aren't adding value. Quick wins like these not only boost your confidence, but also show your team that you're focused on solutions and progress. It's a really subtle way of saying, I'm here to help us move forward, and it sets a positive tone for the rest of your time in that role. The second rule relates directly to the first. Don't make big changes right away. When I first became an executive at Meta, I felt the same pressure most new leaders feel. I needed to prove myself as quickly as possible. And I knew getting a quick win was important, but I made the mistake of trying to change too much too soon. And before I knew it, the team started pushing back. It wasn't that my ideas were bad, it was that I hadn't taken time to really understand how things worked or to build trust with the team. And so from their perspective, it felt like I was disrupting their workflow without listening to their input. And that created a ton of tension right from the start. I quickly realized that I needed to slow down. I took a step back, I started observing, and I asked questions. I made it a priority to really understand what their challenges were, what was working well, and what they valued most in their work. And by the time that I introduced new ideas, things were different. I had their trust and, more importantly, their input. So instead of overhauling the entire project management system overnight, I started with small practical improvements based on their feedback. So for example, we streamlined a few workflows and we addressed bottlenecks in specific areas. These smaller collaborative changes sent a really clear message that I respected their expertise and I wasn't there to turn everything upside down. It taught me a lesson I'll never forget. Change is important, but timing and collaboration are everything. And when you take the time to build rapport and involve your team, you earn their trust and their willingness to support the bigger challenges and the changes that you want to make down the road. And before we jump to the third rule, let me help you take the next step in your career. If you're wondering what type of job is the best fit for you, check out that link in the description below. There's a quick 2-minute quiz that can give you some clarity. Now, unspoken rule number 3, set standards and boundaries. As we know, when you step into a new leadership role, there's a lot of pressure to find your footing, figuring out how to lead your team while setting clear expectations and clear boundaries. And one of the biggest mistakes new executives make is blurring the lines between a leader and being a friend. Remember, as an executive, your role is to lead, to set the tone, to make decisions, not to be everybody's best friend. Here's an example from my own experience. When I started in a new leadership role, I noticed something right away during meetings, that people kept interrupting each other. They just jump in with ideas or questions before someone had finished speaking. And it wasn't malicious, it came from a place of enthusiasm and a lot of heart, but it often led to confusion and frustration. And by my second week, I knew it needed to be addressed. So in a team meeting, I said, I love how excited everyone's here to share their ideas, but let's make sure that we're giving each other the chance to finish speaking first. And so from now on, if you have an idea, just jot it down so we don't forget it. To make sure it's stuck, I modeled the behavior myself. I paused before responding just to make sure that others were finished, and I occasionally reminded the team during our discussions. And over time, this really small adjustment made a huge difference. Meetings became more productive and everyone felt like their voice was heard. Setting the standard early on helped get our team culture on the right track. Everyone was respectful of each other, and it showed the team that I valued their input. But setting standards is only half of it. Setting boundaries is just as important. So for example, when you need to say no to something, don't feel like you need to over-explain explain or give a laundry list of reasons. Sometimes a simple, no, I can't commit to that right now, is all that you need. Setting boundaries helps you stay focused on your priorities while showing your team that you're decisive and confident. By balancing clear standards with firm boundaries, you're going to establish yourself as a leader who's respected and trusted. Remember, consistency is key. Treat everyone fairly and hold yourself to the same standards that you set for the team. Unspoken rule number 4 is one of the golden rules of leadership. Always under-promise and over-deliver. Leadership is more than managing expectations. The key is to build trust and show that people can really rely on you. Because when you promise something and you deliver it faster or better than expected, you leave a lasting positive impression. But when you overpromise, even if your intentions are good, you risk missing deadlines, letting people down, and damaging your credibility. So for example, let's say that you commit to completing a project in 3 weeks. Instead of cutting it close, give yourself a little wiggle room and aim to finish in 2. This way, if unexpected challenges pop up, you're still covered. And if everything goes smoothly, you can deliver early, surprising your team and the stakeholders in the best way possible. This also works in the way that you communicate. So being clear and realistic about what you commit helps to keep everybody aligned and on the same page. And for a pro tip, always get important promises or agreements in writing. And if someone makes a commitment, whether it's about a deadline or a budget or even a bonus, follow up with a quick email to confirm. So for example, you might write something like, just to recap our discussion, you mentioned that the deliverables will be ready by Friday. Let me know if there are any other questions or changes. Doing this keeps everybody accountable and prevents any miscommunication later. By consistently under-promising and over-delivering, you'll build a reputation as a leader who not only meets, but exceeds expectations. And by documenting agreements, you're going to avoid unnecessary misunderstandings and set a strong foundation of accountability. When you put these practices in action, you're going to stand out as a leader that people trust to get things done every single time. And lastly, unspoken rule number 5, start an award folder. In any job, especially as an executive, there are going to be moments when you feel unsure or overwhelmed, and maybe you're questioning whether you're really making the impact that you want or that you need. And that's where starting an award folder can make a huge difference. The concept is simple, but incredibly powerful. Anytime that you get praise, whether it's a compliment from a coworker or a thank you email from a client or recognition from leadership, screenshot it and save it to a folder. The folder becomes your personal reminder of all the value that you're bringing to the organization and to your team. But it's not just a scrapbook of feel-good moments. It's a game-changing tool, and here's why. First, it's a confidence boost. When imposter syndrome kicks in, or you're having one of those tough days where nothing seems to be going right, your award folder can be a lifesaver. And looking back on those messages and those moments of recognition reminds you of the positive impact that you've made. It's hard evidence that you're making a difference, even on the days when it doesn't feel like it. Second, it's your career brag book. And when it's time for performance reviews or salary negotiations, you won't have to scramble to recall your accomplishments. Instead, you're gonna have a curated list of wins, of clear evidence to things that you've done and the value that you've added to the organization. This can make all the difference in turning a standard review into a glowing one or securing that raise or promotion. And here's the key, don't just save the big wins. The small wins matter too. So something as simple as a Slack message from a teammate saying, great job on that presentation today, can be just as impactful. Those little moments add up over time and they paint a picture of your consistent performance and contributions. Starting this habit early gives you a tool to stay confident, to stay motivated, and to stand up for yourself when it matters most. This is exactly what executives do. They track their wins, big and small, and use them to fuel their confidence and their career growth. And now you can do the same. So that's the 5 unspoken rules that every executive should follow when they're starting a new job. If you found this helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe for more tips on leadership and career growth. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.